When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was just a really young woman, and I was having fun. I didn't have a partner. I had several partners back then. So the treatment that I got that affected my sexual life, I think maybe it's not like the treatment, but more like the procedure. When I got the mastectomy, that's what it kind of affected me. When I finished my treatment, I met a guy and I dated him for 2 years. Then I met my husband, but that in between I stopped having like casual relationship because it was an awkward moment, like trying to making out with someone and then try to explain someone that you barely know, like, hey, I don't have a breast. Well, I have breasts, but I don't have a nipple. Even though you don't feel like it kind of affects you sexually, it does because you pull yourself back. In my case, before I got my mastectomy, I think that I was told a lot, even by my doctors and by my plastic surgeon, is that the shape and the form and the size of my breasts were perfect. And in this case, it wasn't not only them that thought that. I really like my breast. I think it was like a really nice asset that I had. Maybe for other women, like having the surgery and the reconstruction was the chance to have like nice perky breasts. In my case was like to basically say goodbye to that like perfection, to something that I really liked in my body. You just feel like you are not worthy of being sexy. And I used to wear a lot of like cleavages, and in my case, I stopped wearing that. So the moment that I stopped wearing that type of clothes, I felt like my sexuality, my sexiness, like just went away. And then I got the reconstruction that the first year it was fine. And actually, I remember I took a picture of myself in a bikini because it was the first time I could wear like a bikini top. That made me realize that it's not that you have to be sexy for others, but maybe just like feel sexy for yourself to start feeling normal and start feeling like you are worthy. And that makes me feel good and better. I have always been like a super open and sexual person. And now after the treatment, I feel like I'm really prudish. Sometimes I'm not the person that starts. Like I have to wait for example, my husband to start, like if he wants to have sex. So the side effects didn't start till I was 30, actually. I started with like dryness. I started with having like low libido and stuff like that. The hardest part that I have dealt with about my sexual life, honestly, has been intercourse. The fact that it hurts, it's weird. And one of the things that I discovered talking with some friends is that intercourse is not always the only option. There's more things. Like we experiment with toys. He got me like the famous satisfier, which I think everybody should get. And one of the one that we do the most and that I enjoy the most is just like oral sex, and it's really, really good because you still can give pleasure and receive pleasure without like the pain of intercourse and all that, which is for me really hard. Then with a friend like a couple of weeks ago, she was like, I just realized that you can have the best sex ever without even having intercourse, and that's amazing. I didn't know that was possible. And that's when I opened up a little bit more with my friends, and I'm like, you know what, I do that too. And I thought that it was weird, but now I realize that it's really good. And it's more the point of having pleasure either way you want, and everybody's happy and pleased. So it's something that has been really hard for me, and it's an ongoing process because at the end of the day, the doctors will help you like with medical stuff like medicine, lubricants, with pills or whatever it can help you, but there's also like this psychological burden that comes with it. So it's something that obviously right now I'm working in therapy, something that I just barely realized 2 years ago, and I think it's like a really long road to work out. So I would recommend like to talk with other women, other survivors. Like don't be shy about asking those type of stuff. A lot of women that get diagnosed through my doctor or even friends get in contact with me directly, and I am really open, and I tell them like whatever you want to ask me, and we are really willing to share. That's why I'm here, and that's why a lot of women are here like in this video, right? Because we see the importance of sharing these things that are not commonly shared by doctors or in the media.